to, because I missed opening session. Don was polite enough to give me a reprieve on opening session since I had a run this morning that I wanted to get in. I'm Katie Koch. I am Director of Recruiting for Progressive Insurance. I am based here in St. Louis. I'm an alumni from, did my undergraduate at Eastern Illinois, and then my master's, my MBA here at Washington University. So, although I'm laughing, I realize today I'm older than I like to believe because I was trying to find classrooms that I know I sat in 3 nights a week, 3 years and on end, and I could not find them. So I walked around and I'm like, okay, I'm just getting old. So what we're going to talk about today is social media and using that in your job search. I'm going to try to spend some time on kind of some tips and tricks, do's and don'ts. Also give you some ideas around like where people are going and how they're using this stuff. Let me ask, how many of you are using some form of social media in your job search today? And I'm seeing sort of half hands, like I'm out there, right, but I don't know what I'm doing with it. Is that a pretty good sense? How do many of you feel like, for those of you who are doing it, how many people feel like you're doing it effectively? Not so much. You have a LinkedIn profile, I'm guessing? Okay. That's probably the best place to start, so you're in the right place. Interestingly enough, I did a session at this event probably no more than 4 years ago, and I said LinkedIn, and everybody in the room went, what's that? I was like, that's LinkedIn. So the college student 4 years ago did not know what LinkedIn was. You will have access to an extremely powerful tool if you use it right and if you use it well. It is the #1 social media option for you for job search. So don't worry about, there's some things we're going to talk about that you can do on Facebook from a job search perspective, but no, Facebook will hurt you more than it will help you. So we'll talk about some of the ways that it can hurt you and things to be careful of, but LinkedIn is sort of where it is and where you need to be. Step 1 with LinkedIn is building your profile. Make sure you've done a nice job with your profile. A lot of what I see, even from the alumni, they've filled in their work experience, and that's about all they've done. And they go, I'm on LinkedIn. And you're like, no, you're not on LinkedIn. You have a profile on LinkedIn, and that's all you're doing. LinkedIn, when used appropriately, is about doing company searches. It's about being actively involved with those people that you are linked with. It is not, the concept is not more is better. It's about the quality of the people that you link with and then what you do with those links. So you heard a lot of the alumni earlier today say, like, get in touch with us and network with us. And you probably went, ooh, send my network profile to all these different people, right? Not so much. One of the things that you really want to do is find who are the people who can help you the most based on your industry, based on what you care about. And then when you send them your request, talk to them before you send it, because if you send it blind, if they're like me, probably won't accept it from people they don't know, because that can get scary. So be careful, make sure you've had a conversation, and then make sure that what you write in that email to them gives a really clear statement on what it is you'd like. This is what I'm looking for, this is what I care about, or even more importantly, share something with them that is of value. I heard a speaker, actually I was at, with my husband at his RE/MAX convention back in April in Las Vegas, and we heard this speaker, and he was talking about the power of social media. You got to know the real estate industry is full of non-techie people. In fact, more of them are non-techie than techie. And he's trying to convince them that social media is the way to go. 2 years ago, most of the people in the room didn't even know what Facebook was, so it's a pretty hard sell. And what he was talking about is social media is not about pushing yourself. It is about drawing people in to listen to what you have to say. So you want to draw people in by sharing things that will be of interest to them. So if you're reaching out to an alumni to say, hey, I met you the other day, don't just say, and I'd like you to help me find a job, but share an article. Share some piece of information that will be of value to them. Hey, remember our conversation the other day? I really appreciate it. I'm very interested in your industry and would love to discuss with you more, or talk about how to get it worked in with your network. Here's an article that I found that I thought you might find interesting. Now I'm going to read it. Now I'm not going to just accept and then move on. I might actually stop, and you'll stick out in my mind. Most people are not doing that with LinkedIn. I get friend requests all the time, and I can tell you, I think I remember one where somebody actually sent me something of value versus somebody wanted to just be attached to my network. The other thing about LinkedIn is you got to stay active on it to make it effective. If you go home and spend all day tomorrow doing all of your links and reaching out to all the people that you met today, and then you don't go on for another 3 months, I can tell you right now, save your time tomorrow, because it won't be worth it. That's not going to help you get in. You need to stay active in your profile, and there's a couple ways you can do that. One, join groups, and join groups that are meaningful to the type of work that you're looking for. So, for example, anyone in here, do we have anybody in here who speaks a second language? There are likely groups out there for individuals in business with that skill set. Go find them. Because guess what? As an employer, when I've decided I need that skill set, I am searching LinkedIn for those groups, and that's where I'm posting those jobs. So if there's any groups related to Delta Sigma Pi, you want to get in them. Because again, that's where employers are going to go. The easiest way for us to find people on LinkedIn is to go to groups, and then we post to those groups so that we know we're finding the people that we're trying to target. So if you're in accounting, you look for accounting groups. If you're in finance, look for finance-related groups. And then add value to that group. Don't just join and have all these groups. Look, get involved in their blogs, send articles back to the blogs, like be an active member so that the people who are also in that group are likely to go, oh, you know what, there's that person in my blog who's in my group that's always talking, and that might be somebody we should be thinking about. Also, recruiters who are joining groups are also looking for that activity. So if you're just part of a group but you've never done anything, they may not pick you up as quickly. So, just having your profile isn't necessarily enough. Also on LinkedIn, not as strong of a need. At Facebook, everybody's got to have their profile picture, right? Not as big of a deal on LinkedIn. You'll probably see a lot of people who don't have one. If you are going to have a picture on LinkedIn, though, you need to make sure that it's a professional photo. The head crop shot where you can still see half of your roommate's head does not count. You need to get something that is just of you. You don't have to pay a lot of money for it. Have somebody take a nice photo of you, but make sure it's just you and that you're dressed appropriately and you look professional when you get it done. Because if you look like a college student who just came home from the bar, I'm not necessarily likely to think that that's the next person you want to reach out to. So some of the things to think about on LinkedIn. Couple other things, make sure your profile is really well written. It should be a representation of your resume. In fact, LinkedIn actually gives you the option to upload your resume. It's a great place to have it. One of the tricks to know, recruiters, we have search engine access. We know how to write searches on Google that uncover resumes that are online. And I can write some pretty fancy searches to help find you. So if you put a resume and it's on LinkedIn, and I sit in Google and write a search string for an individual with a finance degree, with experience in banking, those types of things, you're going to come up on my Google page as a return. So a couple things to know about that. One, have a good resume that has keywords in it that would come up if somebody were running a search based on your background. And then, even better, test it. So once you upload your resume to LinkedIn, or whatever other site you may be uploading it to, try Googling yourself. Try Googling for, individuals with bachelor's degrees in finance, or individuals in the St. Louis area you can do some things to kind of see if your own stuff comes up. I gave this trick earlier to somebody. The other trick, because we are running search engines on the recruiter side, our searches are kind of, they're technical. You got to know what you're doing to try to find them. But they're typically keyword based. So if those words don't exist in your resume, you won't come up. But if there's a word that's particularly useful that doesn't fit naturally into your resume, for your online resume, put it at the bottom of the page and put it in white font. I won't see it, but it will spark you to come up in my job search. So when you look at it, nobody's going to see that it's down there, but it will absolutely come up when I do my search engine. So it's a way to sneak in some of those keywords that people are looking for. the trait that I told that during the career panel a couple years ago, I said that to somebody, and everybody, the alumni group looked at me like, what? And I was like, yes, it's a little known trick that didn't exist when we were in college. There's ways to get information in your resume that you can't get any other way today. That's the beauty of online. In terms of social media and your job search, do not try to be everywhere. There are a million different sites to go on, some better than others. If you Google online, social media in your job, it'll send you to 12 different sites. Don't spend a ton of time trying to be everywhere, because the reality is you only have to be one place and one place really well to come up in the kinds of searches that we're doing. So, things though to be involved in. How many people know what company they want to work for? A couple of you. You know where you want to go? There are company searches on LinkedIn where you can go and find that company. You can get connected, like we want you to come to us. You can get connected. A lot of times good companies, especially your bigger organizations, have LinkedIn pages, and they actually have recruiters whose job it is to keep that active and up to date. So you can participate in blogs for that particular company. You can get more information about the company. Sometimes you can chat directly with a recruiter through your LinkedIn profile. There's some ways for you to actively engage. One of the cool tricks outside of LinkedIn, I just heard this one. Anybody here like in IT? Wow, okay. Wow, that's really scary. Like all the IT majors ran away, I guess. Used to be a big deal. One of the cool things that Facebook is doing, this was a really cool technique. That is, depending on the industry you're going into, look for things like this. It's not directly social media, but what Facebook does is you go to their website, they have puzzles on their website that you have to be, if you're a programmer, you play with this puzzle and you figure out how to solve the puzzle through your program, and it's just fun. Like the programmers just have fun doing it, and that's why they're doing it. They're actually using that as a recruiting tool, and for the people who solve those puzzles, they're then contacting them and said, you solved our puzzle, nobody can solve our puzzle, we want you to come work for us. So if there are companies out there that you're looking for that are like hip and cool and kind of on the cutting edge from a technology perspective, even if you're not in IT, look for those kinds of options online. They may be sort of the new recruiting wave of the future. So that way I don't have to wait for people to apply for me. I can find out whether or not you're good before I have to look at your resume. So that was really, really cool. The story that they were sharing about this guy was that he's a high school graduate. He's been a programmer his entire career. He dropped out of college after 2 years. Like worked with a small company out on the East Coast. Never somebody that he sent his resume to Facebook. They weren't even not a chance he was going to get a second look. And he solved their puzzle and emailed the response back to them. And they called him and said, "Do you want to come work for us?" I'm like, now that would be really cool. So some neat stuff out there to be careful of, or to watch out for. A couple of tricks. I broadened social media to include sort of online do's and don'ts. How many people use a .edu email address as your main email address? Yeah. Finding you're not getting a lot of emails from companies? .edu email addresses at some schools, their firewalls block emails from companies. So, for example, Progressive, one of the first ways we contact you if you are interested, if we're interested, like you apply online, we're interested in you. First way we contact you is via email, and we ask you to take an online test. We are finding that our college students aren't always getting that because if they have a .edu address, it doesn't always get through. So test it out. If you're having trouble getting anything, if you haven't seen a lot of responses from emails from employers, things like that, consider using a couple of schools don't allow it. But if you can, try using like a Gmail account or something like that instead so that you can definitely get, I know our search agents, you can go on our website and set up an agent to notify you when a certain kind of job opens up with our company, and those will not go through to the .edu addresses for some reason. Like most schools have that blocked. trying to keep people from getting spammed, which I guess makes sense, but it does make it difficult when you're trying to find a job. The other thing, don't have crazy email addresses. We see really weird things that people decide to put on resumes. I have seen 4-letter words in people's email addresses. I have seen like crazyhotchick@gmail.com. And I am not kidding. People have fun email addresses for their personal. That's fine. Do not put that on your resume. And guarantee people will not call you, especially if you're looking for like, a real job, a serious job. So be very careful if you've got anything that could look weird in your email address. It can do some strange stuff. The couple of things, so we talked about, talked a little bit about LinkedIn. Let's talk about other places to be careful. How many of you have a Facebook page? How many of you have a picture of you holding an alcoholic beverage on a Facebook page? Yeah. A couple of things you need to do. One, create lists, if you haven't already done it, within your Facebook friends. Not all friends are created equal. And you should not let people in to see your pictures unless they are a friend. Not only can crazy people stalk you, but more importantly, the HR departments are not going out and looking at Facebook pages for the most part. That's not how we do business. We feel like that's private and that's personal, and so we don't. But hiring managers do. Hiring managers, I cannot control them all. Some of them, no matter how many times I tell them it's a bad idea, will go out and look for you on Facebook. And if the Facebook page that they see is you, like falling over, not being able to see straight because you've had too much to drink, probably not going to do great things for getting a job. Other things that are on your profile as well, think about how damaging they would be if the person who's trying to hire you should see them. My all-time favorite and yet worst post on somebody's wall. And I saw it, I knew the person, I saw it, and I went, you just lost the job. Posts on the wall, very excited, got the job offer, so I'll have a job, even if I only need to stay for 6 months. Yeah, they had the job for about 24 hours. If I were an employer, and I don't watch Facebook for that very reason, but if I'm an employer, I would call you back and say, thank you very much, but no thank you. So that is just something you need to be really careful in your job search, what you post. Be professional, be appropriate. I even saw it with some alumni here in the last year, like, went on the job interview, here's how I thought it went. I'm like, stop talking about this on Facebook. Leave it in your private life, let it alone. Don't risk the fact that an employer might see it and either misinterpret what you said or interpret appropriately exactly what you said. Those are things to watch out for. Again, you can make certain things available to friends only. I strongly encourage you, if you've got affiliations or groups that you've joined on Facebook that might be controversial, think of this in 2 ways. Either take it off, or make sure that it's only available to friends. People are always looking at me thinking, well, what would I be in that would be controversial? If you are part of Axe Murderers of America, I would strongly suggest you not make that on your Facebook page. But there also can be things that are even less popular. If you're part of political organizations that have strong views with one direction or the other, whether you agree with them or not, if they are considered by the general public to be controversial, you're better off to leave it on. Just a general rule of thumb. Not everybody needs to know everything about your personal life. So think of it that way. If you wouldn't share it in an interview, don't share it on Facebook. A couple of things to keep in mind. Background checks as they relate to social media and online. How many people have applied for a job where they did a background check? A couple of you. Was it scary to go through thought somebody's looking at your background check? No. No? Good. I went through one and I knew mine was totally clean and it freaked me out because you went, wonder what's out there. We hire thousands of people a year. I'll use my claims organization as an example. We get you through the interview stage. We decide we're going to hire you. We do a background check. only about 85% of the people who we have said this is somebody I want to hire actually get a job offer from us, and that other 15% don't pass the background check. A couple of things that can come up. One, companies are able to get information they've never been able to get before. The courts are more connected, so I can find criminal hits that are a bigger deal. We can Google things, we can find there are companies out there that are, if you want to be hell-bent on finding out what you've done wrong, they can find it. Luckily not the kind of companies we use, but they can. Couple of tricks. One, Google yourself. Google your own name and see what comes up. Also make sure you're well aware, really stop and think, do you have a misdemeanor? Do you have anything that's going to come back on your criminal background? And the reason I stress that, you go, well, wouldn't people know that? I'm amazed at what people don't know. If you've ever been charged with something and you had to go to court and they told you this will be expunged from your record, or you were under the age of 18, so this won't ever come up on your record, know that that may not necessarily be the case. With today's technology, particularly the expungement, if you think about it, they'd said they'd expunge it from your record, like when, a couple of years ago, whatever. The technology didn't really exist in the court to do it. They just told people that and they never did anything. So I have a lot of candidates who think things have been expunged that when we actually run the traces through Lexis and different websites can actually be found. So if you think there's something in your background and you're not sure whether or not it made a difference, do yourself a favor and find out before somebody else finds out so that you can do something with that. That includes things like the tickets you never, the warrant that's out for your arrest because you never paid the 100 parking tickets you got on campus. A candidate who honestly did not get hired because of it. Until they paid, we can't hire you if you have an open warrant. It's against federal law for an insurance company to have you on through the books if you have a warrant out. So I had to call them, I'm like, go pay the parking tickets. So things like that seem insignificant. You're not part of Axe Murderers of America. But guess what? Unbeknownst to you, they published a warrant from your arrest. Things like that you will only find if you take the time to do your own technology search and understand what you look like online. The obvious of, the partying on Facebook, but sometimes the not so obvious as well. Let me do this. Let me open it up for some questions. What kind of things have you guys been running into? What are you struggling with online?
I'm confused on the LinkedIn thing, like the etiquette as far as like adding people and stuff, because I never really used it. I have a profile, but I don't know, like if I just meet a person for a second, like is it okay to just add them on LinkedIn then, or?
Typically, I would say, depends on what kind of meaningful conversation you've had, or if you think, okay, is this person going to think I'm stalking them if I do this? Also, what you send them can make a difference. If I didn't have, if I met you for a second, but I think there's some value in us hooking up, and I provide value to the other person before I ask for that value back, that can make a big difference. So, hey, I met you, and like I said, here's an article I thought you might find interesting, then that etiquette is perfectly fine. Now, if you go out tomorrow and start hooking up with 100 people, you've probably broached too far in your
So it's not like a Facebook thing where you're just like adding a person, you want to like send a message when you add someone.
Yeah. Particularly if you're doing it for job search purposes, that's really the best way to go with it. Other questions and thoughts? I know we talked about LinkedIn. Oh yeah.
Or if you had some examples of general keywords that people want to search for in searching the database.
Yeah. Depends on your field of interest. So know what kinds of skill sets the employer is going to be looking for. If there's any certifications that are in your resume that might not use the word like certified. So, you have it in there, but it doesn't say certified, blah, blah, blah. Make sure that you use the word certified at the bottom. That can be, and even if you don't even put it in the bottom, if it's in there. Certifications is always a keyword that people are looking for in a lot of businesses. Things like if you're in any kind of field like accounting where you need certain, you're going to need certain programs and need to know those. Make sure you know what those are and make sure they're very evident in your resume. one of the girls that I just interviewed before this, she's looking for HR and she's looking for an HR position when she graduates. And I told her, I'm like, you've got to have words like hired, recruited, trained. Those are the kinds of things that if I'm looking at a resume, I'm going to have built into my search. So that's what I'm going to look for as to whether or not it's going to come up. At least get you in front of the person in the first batch of candidates versus you always having to be the one that applies. Also, if you look at the actual job description that you're applying to, so look at their job, like their online job ad, how they advertise the job, and look for specific words that they keyed on, and then work those into your resume. And that's a really good way to do it. So if you know you're looking for positions in a particular arena, go out and do some searches for different types of jobs in that field, and look for keywords that are showing up in every person's job ad, particularly like under the qualification sections and stuff like that. Make sure those words are in your resume. Obviously, if they're legitimate, you can't make stuff up. But if they're legitimate, use their own verbiage, because that's likely what they're searching for on the back. Does that help?
Yeah, I've never thought about that.
Yeah, it's kind of the reverse of, we always put in our descriptions the way we think about it and talk about it in our field, and so if you compare a lot of those, you'll start to see a trend in the verbiage that your industry is using.
Does, you work with Progressive, right?
Yeah.
Do y'all have any HR internships available or anything?
We do not do HR internships. It's a bummer of the world. No, we typically, our roles are typically higher level HR positions. And our recruiting positions, we don't currently have, and we just don't have the FTE to have, we don't have the numbers to be allowed. Our recruitings are lean these days, so we don't have them with us, but I do know of some good HR internships that I can start to steer you in the right direction. So we can talk afterwards, I'm happy to do. Any other questions before we wrap? Okay, I have to do one more. Is this helpful information? Is this stuff you guys hadn't heard before?
Yeah.
Okay. I was presenting this, I'm like, I don't know how much they're teaching the students about this these days, so.
Actually, I don't think any of my teachers have ever went over any of this. Like, all the stuff that you said, I've heard from you before, when we've been talking.
Right.
And this, I write it down every single time, and it sticks in my head.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
actually just recently went on Facebook and made everything private.
Yeah. It's always a good roll of the dice. If you're going to use it for jobs, keep it clean, keep it good. But yeah, just being on LinkedIn isn't enough. You really got to do something with it. But all the big companies have LinkedIn pages. We also have Facebook pages. So like us on Facebook, not just us, but like the companies that you are interested in. If they're coming to campus, companies with large campus programs typically will have campus Facebook pages. So for example, when we go to University of Arizona, we have a University of Arizona Progressive Facebook page, and we will post on that when we're coming to campus, what we're doing on campus, and all those kinds of things. Find the companies you're interested in, look for them on Facebook, and then particularly look for their recruiting pages and get involved that way.
And this may be a dumb question, but if we find you on Facebook, you can't see our profiles, can you?
Oh, if you...
I
No,
didn't think so, but I wasn't
as long
sure.
as you use your lists appropriately in your friends list, we can't just automatically see it.
I didn't think so, but.
Yeah, just make sure you've got your privacy settings set appropriate. Great. Thank you guys very much. Let me know afterwards if there's any questions you have. I'll be around.